Yeah, he was over there making sure it was warming up early
Because the meeting will be over by the time.
Yeah, right. I know, right.
Your live stream is on.
Time to be good. Possible. It might happen. I don't know that you're going to live to see it.
Hey, we need to pass this around, guys. Let's sign that document here. Okay. 30 seconds.
Yeah.
We have quorum. We have
Some
quorum.
paper.
Mr. Dorsey, can you sign and get this pen that we use?
Nope.
I got one, okay. Okay, it's 6 o'clock.
I actually passed it down to the email sheet.
Pass it to Amy. All right, 6 p.m. in Gardner, Kansas. I'm going to call the emergency meeting of the Gardner City Council to order. Can you please rise with me and recite the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We are convening an emergency meeting of the governing body to discuss one item this evening, and that is to adopt a resolution declaring a water warning for the city of Gardner, Kansas, per our municipal code, and it has to do with water restrictions and resolution of certain items in terms of controlling or regulating. So there is not really a presentation this evening unless, did you want to? Gons has the presentation? Okay, great. Gons, if you could give us a quick synopsis.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Yep, I put together a very brief presentation to recap what has occurred for the past 40 days regarding water. On the graph you see is the water effluent. That means the water that comes out of the Hills of Water Treatment Facility to the city. This is for the period June 1st to yesterday, July 18th. Also on the graph, I put the water watch line, which is 85% of the capacity of Hillsdale, and the water warning, which is 90%. So if you look from June 1st all the way to June 17th, you have a spike close to 3.8 million, or 3,800,000. The plant, although was designed for 4 million, it can actually treat 3.8 million and maybe a bit more. So when we reach that peak around June 17th, 15th, we knew that there was a problem. Some of the factors that pushed the effluent that high was the fire district was doing hydrant testing at the same time. So it was one of the causes. Then the golf course was being irrigated using a hydrant. And they still, well, they were doing that up to 2 days ago. And then the aquatic center has a leak. So those three factors push that the effluent to go that high. Then you can see a trend going down again. And then around July, it starts going above the water warning trigger. In order to have a water warning, you need to have more than 5 consecutive days above the 90%. So just after Independence Day or July 4th, we went ahead and sent a smart watering, a flyer, actually a media blast or email blast, requesting the Gardner citizens to go ahead and make changes to their watering. Then a couple of days later, we can see a trend going for several days above the water warning alert. So on last Friday, we put together some recommendations following the water conservation plan. And that was presented, or I gave an update last Monday. So the restrictions were put in place on last Tuesday. Now, you can see following the restrictions, you see a significant drop. They comply with the restrictions. I think it's too early to tell. But if you look at, we have cooler weather. We've got a few drops, so maybe that helped. Too early to tell. So what the water warning, like I mentioned before, is triggered when the water capacity of Hillsdale is more than 90% for 5 days. So the actions we took on Tuesday was limiting the outdoor water use. Residents 1/2 of time were permitted to water Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and the other half on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Outdoor water use was limited to before 10 a.m. and after 9 a.m. Refilling swimming pool will be allowed 1 day a week after sunset. And then bulk water sales was suspended, and wastewater was prohibited. Between Monday and Tuesday, I received several calls related to the bulk water sales. And apparently most of the complaints were regarding the bulk water sales. So what we're trying to accomplish tonight is to pass a resolution declaring a water warning and provide the flexibility necessary to account the current needs and challenges faced by the city's water utility. Staff have developed a plan that will allow for limited bulk water sales. On the average, it's about 9,000 to 10,000 gallons a day. It's not that much compared to the leak we have, to the aquatic center leak. So we will be monitoring the usage on every 3 hours to make sure we don't exceed the 10,000 gallons. And I think we won't. Then we have adopted changes to the outdoor watering schedule that will provide clarification while still aligning with the municipal water conservation plan measures. And we will continue to review the ordinance incorporating the municipal water conservation plan and the water conservation itself that will bring back recommendations to the governing body in the UAC as appropriate at a later date.
Thanks, Gons. I appreciate it. Oh, I'm sorry. Go on. You still have this?
No, I have
Yes.
the agenda item, which is basically a summary that was presented on the PowerPoint summarizes the action item. But based on the conversation we had this morning, the new restrictions in order to comply with the conservation plan is to divide the city in north of Main Street and south of Main Street. North houses on the north water will be allowed to water on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. No watering on Friday. And houses on south of Main Street, they will water on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Again, the restriction on Friday will be the same. So this will meet the conservation plan recommendations.
Great. I'm going to open up the floor for public comment on this item. If anyone wishes to come forward and speak on this item specifically, no other items are going to be deliberated, just this one item. You can come forward, state name and address for the record. We're still under the same time limitation.
Clint Barney, 136 North Cedar Street. The motion is good if we can get it to the Electric Utility Commission and have it reviewed. I think we could finalize it and get it back to you guys. Driving here, I noticed somebody bought a new pool, above ground pool, filling it up today as we speak against the ordinance, law or no law. I called city code enforcement. She said you guys were having a meeting and she didn't want to enforce the law because she didn't know what the meeting was about. So just wanted you guys to be aware that it's not, the law is still not being adhered to, no matter if you guys are having a meeting or not. So appreciate your time.
Thanks, Clint. Anyone else? And with no one else coming forward, questions, comments, thoughts on this particular resolution? Understanding we're not changing anything about the ordinance tonight. We're just adding resolution language in so that we can have flexibility in enforcing the restrictions.
That's why I said
Yeah.
what I did.
Yep, yep.
Mayor, I have a question. Go ahead, Mark.
Mark? Yeah.
Gons, the water warning is if we have 5 consecutive days, right? So is there a window that 5 consecutive days can slide in or out of? So like we just saw on the graph that it's already dropped in the last couple of days. So yes, we have 5 consecutive days, but we're not on those 5 consecutive days now. So do we have a window that says if it's been in the last 2 weeks, you can still trigger? Or no, that was 3 months ago and we're not worried about it? Do we have any sort of time frame restrictions?
The water conservation plan is not that specific, but if you have 5 consecutive days, which I will say within the past 5 days, then you trigger the water warning. Now we have, like you mentioned, we have a decline, but it's too early to say what was the factor that drove the decline. So to me, the water warning should remain in place.
And that makes sense. I just wanted to know if there was a time frame, and then just seeing this and looking at the graph, this is another reason that I think it would be great if we had smart meters, so we could track if there's a leak at somebody's house, if there's somebody who's not adhering to the law, if there's certain usages that are above, some sort of norm. We could either help residents with issues or possibly enforcement as well.
And that's a good point, because the smart meter will give you real-time information. The information that I provided is at the end of the day. So we do not know the actual usage at any particular time.
And I'll piggyback on what Mark said. I support the smart meters. I think there's more value beyond just the example that you provided, but I think real-time information would be great. I just wonder if we've got the bandwidth to monitor that. I'm sure there's some triggers within that smart system that could
The software
ping
could be
you
set up
or
to
email
notify.
you, or 620 East Hawthorne's 10,000 gallons above average, or whatever that is. The question that I had is, what is the average either daily or weekly current bulk water consumption? So the folks out in the county.
We don't track it by the day, but we have a monthly reading. And
Okay,
if you do the math, it's between 9 and 10,000 gallons a day.
So if we gave them fair warning after this meeting, they could ideally fill up while meeting the new requirements, or working within those new requirements. They could fill up and have some sustainability thereafter.
I think that we set the
10,000 gallons a day. That would be the
10,000.
limit.
Correct.
First come, first
And that
served.
should be enough to serve everybody.
Okay, that's where I was going, is just to make.
Yeah. Our finance director wants to
I just want to say,
contribute to something.
you mentioned that we don't have real time. Well, we're doing what we can because today, utility billing manager Foster ran a consumption report just to see if she saw anything, and we actually caught a $40,000 leak at Casey's since yesterday. So we sent them out, talked to them, and it's probably in their service line that's to the irrigation, but we're working on that, so it may not be automated, but they were on the job, so.
That's great, thank you. Yes, Todd.
So what then triggers the, you reduce it from a warning to a watch, and or what in your mind, is it just a judgment call? What gets us off of the warning or off of the watch?
Yeah, that was my next question.
Council action.
Getting off of the warning, if we see a steady decline or a more constant usage, I would say that will give us an indication of that we can leave the warning.
For a 5-day period, or?
Doesn't say, but it will be more of, I would say, staff making the determination.
Yeah.
Does that have to be council action?
Yes.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, it does, based on that.
It will have to be council action once you pass this resolution. You'll have to end it by resolution as well. But that probably won't require an emergency meeting because this resolution allows you flexibility
In enforcement.
how you want to do your regulations.
Yep.
So do we not judge it by the same 5 days that we get ourselves into it then?
Well, that's the other thing about this. The resolution that instituted the
Correct.
water conservation plan has certain language in it.
Correct.
That I believe is contradictory to the ordinance.
The resolution
And-
itself does not have that language.
Right.
Yeah,
The resolution
it talks about adopting and having a
Yeah.
trigger, but it doesn't say what the trigger entails. It doesn't
Yeah,
say
I was
anything.
agreeing with Moore earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
I-
poorly written. It's poorly
That
written.
was my question. It was for legal counsel. I have the water conservation plan here. It basically says, it gives a heading triggers. It says this stage is triggered by any one of the following conditions. It gives the conditions, but then it doesn't say at that point what to do. There is regulation actions, but it doesn't tie, the two things are not tied together
Yeah, they're
in any way, in
dysfunctional.
any language. So my question is, were actions previous to us making this declaration proper or improper? Should they be shutting off anything or taking any actions according to what's here, without the governing body making a ruling as to the declaration?
I think that was, I think that was the intent of how it was set up. It is poorly worded, I would agree with you on that. But certainly, if you look at the documentation as a whole, I think it infers or suggests that once those triggers, that the whole purpose of the plan was to allow for, if those triggers are hit,
Yep.
it automatically would take place without the necessity of a council meeting, because you might have a gap of time that goes by that could really cause a major problem for safety or water supply or anything like that. So that clearly was the purpose. I agree with you, it's poorly worded, it needs to be addressed, but you can't do that quickly, so this is the stopgap.
I mean, the best way to handle this in the future is to take the water conservation plan and incorporate it into the code by ordinance and have it supersede, the original language of a declaration, and just leave it at that. That way we know that those restrictions will go into place.
You're also going to want to keep some degree of
Flexibility.
And that, yeah, you're
That's pretty
correct.
critical.
Yeah.
So that, the restrictions itself need to be rewritten because it's too inflexible. It's more inflexible than the original city code is. So.
Yeah, I guess the way I interpret this is that we can't take any of these regulation actions until after we've made the declaration.
As of this point, I think you're correct.
And because this gives us no authority, gives the city staff no authority to take action on our behalf. We have to put that in, I think we have to put that in the ordinance.
Correct.
So.
Which is what I kind of said.
Yeah, I think you got two issues. One's the long-term solution, and things
Yeah.
sort of correctly lined out. This is the best stopgap that was come up with.
Correct. Well, the declaration fixes all these problems in the short term. But in the long term, and I think this is where Clint's suggestion of getting this before the Utility Advisory Committee is important. Any change to ordinance for the long term that goes and implements a water conservation plan needs to go through the appropriate committee and have it come forward to us as a committee recommendation.
Right. And the one other thing I'd point out is you guys have been talking about time frame and really the trigger and have 5 consecutive days as a trigger. That's sort of a scientific, not necessarily scientific, but at least it's something objective that staff can look at to address. But on the flip side, the concern is having water usage or levels back to where it works for the city. That may not be a 5 days in a row type of thing. That might be a capacity issue that they have other testing requirements that want to be objective.
Correct.
If I may add, besides the quantity that we produce, there's the other element, quality. So you can maybe produce more water, but you need to provide that the water is within the parameters established by the KDHE.
Absolutely.
So that's the other problem, that we have to make sure that the water is quality water.
I have a couple questions. This is more just for my own personal. On the bulk water, how are we going to like lock it up or temporarily turn it off when we get the 10,000 gallons? Because
usually it's a usually line maintenance. We can shut off the machine.
okay,
Just disconnect it.
so you can pre-program it to say 10,000 gallons. And
No, we don't have the capability. We have to take readings every 2 hours, 3 hours.
so,
But based on the past usage, I don't think we're gonna reach the 10,000.
well, that's what well, I know I probably will have a big rush on the first day or so, probably just because people will be, oh my gosh, we gotta come get it. But the other thing I'm wondering is like, I mean, are we starting it at midnight? I mean, are we are we locking it up until 8 o'clock in the morning? I mean, because, well, yeah, but I mean, are we gonna have staff go out there at midnight and then check it every 2 hours until, because if we're gonna do it, I mean, these are things we're gonna think about. If we gotta say we're doing 10,000 gallons a day, when does the day start? When do we end it?
A lot of these guys get up at 4:30 in the morning and start doing their work.
Well, but, I mean,
I know.
I'm just saying, we gotta think about that stuff.
As far as, I will go, starting tomorrow early in the morning, 6 in the morning, open the bulk sales.
Okay. I mean, do
Water
we have
sales.
staff who's ready to go and
Oh,
unlock
they're
the thing?
there before 6 o'clock.
Okay.
I had one last thing to draw some attention to is the signs that are currently posted.
Yeah.
They say odd addresses on odd days, even addresses on even days. We already have signs out with that on there that are in conflict with what we were talking about in the.
No, because already have the new restrictions already being printed.
Oh, okay.
On
So we're going to
stickers.
replace those signs
So
then?
tomorrow morning, I'll tell signs here to go and put a sticker and cover the old restrictions.
All right.
That's
Thank you.
already in
Perfect.
place.
Good. Good to
So,
know.
real quick, I know this is not on our topic necessarily, but you said there's a leak at the pool, and it's 10,000 gallons a day we're
Yeah.
losing. So where is that leak at? I mean,
They're doing
'cause-
some leak detection analysis, trying to determine where the problem is. According to Jason, might be on the filters.
Oh my gosh, the filters that we
It was
just
just
replaced.
changed.
filters that we
I'm not
just,
sure the ones we put in, he said might be
the wrong size.
around
or
the filters.
Good times.
All right.
Well, that's
How much
okay.
should we spend on this?
$1 million, 1.2, I think.
Yeah.
No, filters are 100 grand.
135.
Oh,
Okay. So,
You're thinking
I'm
of the
thinking golf
irrigation
course, yeah,
system,
right. So, no.
The
All
other,
right.
the other possibility is a return line to the filters, which the line is below the swimming
Yeah,
pool.
right, so you have to
So
dig
you
it
have to
out
empty the pool.
All right, that'd be wonderful.
Hopefully it'll be in the filters.
Let's hope it's just a simple
filter.
fix. All right, so that was the ones I was
I'd
really.
like to move that we declare a water warning for the city of Gardner.
I second the motion.
All right, this is going to be my resolution. We have a motion by Moore, second by Gregorczyk, that we adopt resolution, and the number is 1991. It's a good year. It was the year I got married. A resolution declaring a water warning for the city of Gardner, Kansas. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Sir, you need a roll call vote.
No, just-
Oh, it is a resolution. You're correct. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Amy.
My bad. That's why she's there. She keeps
Jump
me,
on him. I
she
like
keeps
it.
me on.
Resolution 1991,
Yes,
sir.
Resolution 1991. Will City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Grigorczyk.
Yes?
Councilmember Melton.
Yes.
Councilmember Moore.
Yes.
Councilmember Winters.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Mayor Shute.
Yes. Resolution 1991 passes.
We need to get her like a Nerf gun or something. She can just-
So, Gon, should we expect an update in the coming, like, Friday minute memo, or the upcoming council meeting, or?
Regarding the,
Absolutely.
every Friday, I can make a
Okay.
report, give you a report on the situation of water.
That's great.
Because if we have a subjective, get out of jail free card, then we'll need to understand what that capacity is while considering what the quality of water is to turn it on.
Okay.
All right. There's no other business to be had this evening, so I'll entertain a motion to
So
adjourn.
moved?
Second.
Motion Grigorczyk, second for that we adjourn. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, we are adjourned.
Who's the council?
What? No, council. You see council?
No, that's why I'm not saying it.